Hi guys, welcome back. So Wales get that win they wanted, the one they needed, 38-23 versus Fiji. On the scoreboard, looks fairly comfortable, but it definitely wasn't. Fiji were in this game for a lot of the time, ahead for a lot of the time, and considering they were down to 14 men for most of this game and 13 for 20 minutes, they really put in a great effort, but definitely that red card probably killed their chance of actually winning it. But we got a fascinating game. Adams was a late withdrawal, just I think in the warm-up. Tompkins came in to start and he really took his chance. And do you know what? When Halaholo came on as well, he looked impressive. I know it was against a tiring Fiji, but could Tompkins and Halaholo actually be Wales' first choice centres? I have said in the past, it is up for grabs in the centres. Anyway, let's get into the game. I'll tell you what I think of it, make some comments and also talk through some of these key points here. And as always, please put your comments down below because I always read what you guys write and I really appreciate it. The first 10 minutes, it's really all Fiji and it's a little bit of men against boys to start with. Busting tackles, hitting hard. Wales just look a little shell-shocked, maybe a little intimidated, I don't know. I mean, Nick Tompkins is giving away literally a whole Nick Tompkins to most of Fiji's outside backs. And that power just tells immediately as Mata goes straight through, hitting a dirty line, offloads to Naya Theavu, and the captain scores, and it really is looking a bit like men versus boys. Wales need to step up quickly, but Tuisova wins a penalty, that human ball of muscle. Goodness me, he's hard to stop. A good jackal, and Fiji were good in their jackal position. That was one of their strengths, certainly. Volovolo kicked pretty well, 10-0, so they're up 10-0 already. A little bit shell-shocked. Wales haven't really got into their game. And I make a little point here at this point that Dan Biggar's starting to annoy me in this game already. His banana kicks, tell me what you think of those. I don't like them at all. I know the physics works, that if you hit the outside of the ball, kind of like a flying saucer type spin, it will curl towards the touchline. So, you know, in theory, you can start it out a little bit wider and curl it in late. But I just can't see how it's better than the end-over-end kick. I rarely see it do any better. And, you know, the margin for error on those kicks is so small. You've got to get the strike just right. And actually, he does it again very shortly afterwards. So I'd love to know what you think on that kind of minutiae comment there. Anyway, 10 minutes in, Wales finally gets into their pattern. Much better, whizzing the ball from side to side. And Wales did, to be fair to them, get into their attacking pattern a lot. They knew what they were doing. I liked the movement. They were stretching Fiji side to side. And there were definitely gaps to be had. And they get into some of that side to side, get a couple of line outs, some mauls. And their maul technique looked far superior to Fiji's in this game. And Elias goes over for the first of his tries, gets 2 in the end. And the Fiji maul defence was pretty much non-existent. So that's worrying for Fiji. But they're still ahead, 7-10. And Fiji runners, I mean, they are making the gain line. They're looking good. And the note I made on Fiji's attack is fantastic individual runners, but the ball should be really quick because they're winning the ball, they're getting over the gain line, but they're not really whizzing it away to the next phase. They don't really know what they're doing particularly. It's a little bit slow in organisation through the whole game, but they are so good individually, they kind of get away with it. But if only Fiji had more time together. I mean, will the Mona Pacifica team help that? I don't know, but organisation-wise, you know, as always with Fiji, a little bit of an Achilles heel. But anyway, it's a nice game. It's starting to flow. Wales are getting into their rhythm. Fiji are looking dangerous. The Fijian wingers are absolutely huge. They're bigger than Wales's back row, quite literally, in this game. And the Fijian scrum, to be fair to it, is pretty strong. They're getting the nudge. A poor kick out on the fall from Biggar, who probably didn't have his best game. That put Wales in all sorts of bother in the 22, and that Fiji actually stretched their lead from that 7-13. So Fiji creeping ahead, and Wales's tacklers, I just want a bit more fire from them at this point. I'm getting a little annoyed that they're just a bit passive. They're absorbing the tackles from Fiji rather trying to match their power, if you like, or match their intensity. I just felt Wales could just up it a little bit at this point, even though their shape is looking good. Technically, they're looking good. I want them to get more angry, basically. Anyway, then probably the moment of the match for Fiji, for Wales, the red card. Sal, what is he doing? He just dives on Williams and just forearms in or stiff arms him to the face. I think it's the upper arm, actually. I mean, it's the most obvious red card you can possibly get. Now, tell me truthfully, Wales fans, were you getting ready to shout at the TV because it looked like the ref was going to go for yellow, saying that the player was falling, but he wasn't. He was prone on the ground. It was pretty clear. It's almost as bad as literally punching him in the face. You couldn't do a lot worse. The TMO pulls the referee around and steers him towards the red card, which is the right decision, thank goodness, because it was a brain-dead decision, ruined Fiji's game. Sal goes off, 14 men for the whole game. We're not trying that 20-minute thing, so that was a killer. He's disconsolate, as he should be. Anyway, now, going back to my point about Biggar's banana kicks, he gets 2 in a row now. One of them just gets caught, basically, because it's so low. It's harder to do. You're not getting that height. It's very, very, like I say, low margin for error. And instead of a 5-metre maul, which probably would have been a certain try, they lose the ball. And then he does it again a few minutes later, going for his banana kick instead of just smashing it straight end over end or indeed spiral, and he only gets 20 metres when he would have got an easy 40 with a normal style kick. So I really hope he stops doing that, but I don't think he will. And then he actually continues to get a bit annoying with the way he chats to the ref. So let me know if you think I'm being harsh on Biggar in this match, but he definitely, I think, had a bit of a poor one with more than one thing, to be honest. Right, 28 minutes, Wales' ball movement is good, like I said. The width is definitely the correct tactic, going side to side. Huge Fijian hits. They're bashing the Welsh players about, but they are still going through their shape. And Biggar starts bickering with the ref. Now, I don't know if it's just because Amazon's microphones are much better than ITV or the BBC or Sky, but we're picking up so much chat from the players. We're getting a lot more swearing, actually, and they spend half their time apologising for that. But we get Biggar just talking to the ref in a real kind of like juvenile way, which he doesn't need to do. It's not going to get the ref on side. I think the ref was actually incredibly patient with him. Others probably wouldn't. And Fiji's strong jackal technique is getting themselves out of a lot of trouble because Wales are starting to get on top. And Wales just start to implode a little bit here. Even though they're on top, they just need to go through those phases. They are giving away some silly penalties. Hardy and Rees-Zammit kind of epitomise this by trying to attack blind. It's not really on, but it would have been fine. They would have retained the ball. But they get their timing completely wrong, and Hardy passes straight into touch. Completely unnecessary. But Beard comes to the rescue with nice maul defence swimming through. That's one thing he's really good at. And it looks like Wales have the key to unpick this defence, especially against 14, but it's not coming yet, but you feel it has to come for sure. And in the last 5 minutes, Fiji are definitely holding on. They need this break badly. Wales are all over them, and Tuasui gets a yellow. And that's the first of 2 yellows. Now they're down to 13 men. Absolute killer again. Wales 5-metre line out, must score, and they do. Too many holes. Hardy snipes over nicely, and Wales sneak the lead at half time. The clock is red, but they smell blood versus 13 men. They go the length of the pitch and crossfield kick to Louis Rees-Zammit, and the try is given, but it has been called back because the ball just crossed the touchline, the plane of the touchline earlier in the play. So no try, but they are at least ahead. Now, Fiji, obviously their own worst enemy with a red card, but Wales, you just think they've got to be patient, just keep going, you're going to win this game if you do that. But in the second half, they start terribly with a high tackle needlessly, gives the lead straight back to Fiji, 14-16, nice kick from 45 metres from Vola Vola, he played fairly well. So Fiji get back to 14 men, they're still in the lead, could be worse, but Wales continue to move that ball from side to side. And the Fijians, you've got to say, they were tenacious in their tackling. Eventually, they ran themselves out of steam, but their line speed was good, their individual tackling was good. They were making it hard for Wales for sure. But they can't let the game go too loose, Wales. They got a bit loose in this second half. It was a little bit like end-to-end like Fiji want, and they don't need that because they are in complete control when they go through their phases. That jackal's still very good from Fiji, getting them out of trouble. Fiji desperate to slow the game down as much as possible, which is very advisable. And Wales give away a penalty, but this time a bad miss could have extended their lead. But then they do extend their lead. And wow, sheer genius here. It's a quick tap mark, which they probably didn't need to do. They could have just run. The fullback from Fiji scorches about 3 Welsh defenders, then 2-on-1 to Naithaleavu, and he scores again, 23-14, 14-23 I should say, to extend their lead. And Wales absolutely should have covered this because they were in phase play. They were all set up. This wasn't broken field. Bigger spots, he thinks he can get a 50-22. He can't, but still, the chase should be there. They should be organised, and they weren't at all. So that was a bit of a mistake for Wales. And 20 minutes to go. Wales are getting a bit nervous. Still so much possession. It's just a matter of patience, and that patience does pay off with multiple Fijian penalties with another yellow, and that just kills them really, stamina-wise. Down to 13 again for 10 minutes. That was tough. And now comes the second bit of petulance from Biggar, and I really can't believe the way he spoke to the ref on this one. He takes a quick tap penalty, clearly not from the mark, because it's about 2 metres from the try line, and you have to be taking a penalty at least 5 metres back from the try line. You can't have anything closer. The ref rightly calls him back very politely, and I can't believe the way Biggar moans at him like a child, really, when he knows he's in the wrong. Don't like it at all. But the pressure does tell. Fiji, they burst eventually. An unstoppable maul again. Elias bashes over again. Bad miss from Biggar, hits the post. But Fiji is still ahead. And unsurprisingly, just after this, Biggar gets hauled off because he was losing his head. But there's still plenty of time. 15 minutes to go. Wales have so much chance here. They butcher a great chance. Fiji look out on their feet. It's a Halaholo break that launches this attack. They get into the 22, and all they really need to do is just stay there. But Thomas Williams, fresh on, probably a bit too excited, pokes through a speculative grubber kick that goes dead, and they're actually offside, so they give away a penalty as well, and just kill a fantastic position where really they're going to be scoring at will if they just keep the ball. But it does come just a minute later. It's a shocking line out from Fiji, this one. Bad overthrow. Simple hands. Gives the space, just enough space for Cuthbert to squeeze in the corner. Nicely done. And finally, they're back in the lead. And now they don't look back. Fiji are so low on numbers. Their attack's simple. It's slow. It's still making ground, but, it hasn't got the bite anymore. They are back to 14 men for the last 5 or 6 minutes. But then Lewis Rees-Zammit shows what pure pace is all about. It's worked out wide to the left. It doesn't look like anything's on. He just thumps it long and trusts his unbelievable pace, and it works. Outpaces the covering defence, who had a good 10-15 metre start on him. Gets a millimetre of skin on the ball, but that's all you need. Just some downward pressure, and the try is good. 31-23. Fiji actually nearly scored just after this, but a bit more patience maybe would have got there. An interesting little note here, obviously when you drive over the line and get held up now, it's a goal line dropout. That was clearly going to be held up. When it's a latch drive and there's players in and around it from the defending team, it's unlikely you're going to score, and teams are going to have to start coaching themselves to actually pull back from those situations and get a slightly better one. So that could have got the game close, but then as Fiji throw caution to the wind, opportunities open up and Wales counter-attack and get the final score, 38-23, to put a gloss on what was a bit of a struggle to win. Anyway, great for Wales to get that win. Would have been a killer for them to have lost that game. Fiji were really good in places. Need so much more time together though, and need to not give away those silly yellow cards and red cards that probably cost them. Love to know your thoughts on this game, guys. Could go either way. You might say it was a poor game from Wales. You could say actually they were all over Fiji but just couldn't score the tries. Let me know what you think about all the stuff I said about Biggar, if that's unfair or if you agree, and I will catch you next time.